The $47 billion scam Wall Street didn't see coming. Wall Street's smartest minds got conned out of $47 billion by a guy who literally trademarked the word "we." In just 10 minutes, I'll show you exactly how he did it and the red flags that could save you from the next financial collapse. In 2019, WeWork was worth $47 billion. Just 8 months later, $8 billion. Thousands lost their jobs, but the man behind it all walked away a billionaire. This isn't just a story of failure, it's a masterclass in manipulation. Today, I'll break down the 5 psychological tactics Adam Neumann used to fool billionaires, the chart that proves it was a fantasy, and the single document that brought the empire crashing down. If you're an investor, entrepreneur, or just curious how con men win in plain sight, this video could save you millions. If you want to understand how wealth is engineered and how to spot the illusion behind billion-dollar valuations, consider subscribing. This is The Wealth Project. Subscribe and follow now to learn the rules the rich play by. The profit of we. Adam Neumann wasn't just a CEO. He was a prophet selling salvation through shared office space. Standing in front of investors, he wasn't talking about square footage or lease agreements. He was talking about elevating the world's consciousness and creating a physical social network. He told investors that WeWork's valuation had less to do with revenue and more to do with our energy and spirituality. This wasn't business speak. This was cult leader language. And it worked because Neumann understood something most entrepreneurs don't. People don't invest in companies. They invest in stories. WeWork's annual summer camp wasn't a corporate retreat. It was a mandatory pilgrimage where thousands of employees gathered for days of nonstop partying and cult-like worship of Neumann. One former employee described it as Burning Man meets corporate America meets religious revival. The company spent $60 million on a private Gulfstream G650 jet. Neumann would have private Run DMC performances on the corporate jet after laying off hundreds of staff. He mused about becoming the world's first trillionaire and living forever. But Neumann wasn't delusional. He was strategic. Every eccentric behavior, every grandiose statement was carefully calculated to maintain the mystique that kept the money flowing. So now you understand the profit, but every cult needs a believer with deep pockets. And Neumann found the perfect mark. A Japanese billionaire who was about to make the biggest investment mistake in history. What happened in their first meeting will blow your mind. The $100 billion enabler. Meet Masayoshi Masa-san, CEO of SoftBank and head of the $100 billion Vision Fund. This man wasn't just WeWork's biggest investor. He was Neumann's enabler and validator. Their first meeting in 2017 became legendary. After a brief tour, on the car ride to the airport, a meeting that lasted less than 30 minutes, Masa sketched out a $4.4 billion investment on an iPad. $4.4 billion decided in a car ride. But Masa didn't give Neumann money. He gave him permission to be crazier. His advice was that Neumann wasn't ambitious enough. He told him to be crazier, make WeWork 10 times bigger, and wage war on competitors. Masa wasn't investing in a real estate company. He was investing in his fantasy of finding the next Alibaba. He was hunting for founders who could dominate industries for 300 years. This made him uniquely susceptible to Neumann's messianic pitch. So you've got the prophet and his billionaire believer feeding off each other's delusions. But while they were building this $47 billion narrative, the actual numbers were telling a completely different story. What I'm about to show you is the most damning evidence that this was all a house of cards. ready to fall. This kind of unchecked belief in a founder's vision isn't unique to WeWork. It's a pattern, one we've seen repeated across Silicon Valley and Wall Street. Let me know in the comments, what's another company you think might be or did skate on narrative more than numbers? The reality gap. While WeWork's valuation soared to $47 billion, the company was hemorrhaging cash at an unprecedented rate. In 2016, WeWork lost $430 million. In 2017, they lost $933 million. In 2018, they lost $1.9 billion. As the company grew, the losses accelerated. For every dollar WeWork made, they burned more than $2. But during this same period, WeWork's valuation went from $16 billion to $47 billion. Here's the chart I promised you. At WeWork's $47 billion peak, their biggest competitor, IWG, was worth just $3.7 billion on the public market. IWG had more locations, operated in more countries, served more customers, and was profitable. The market valued the profitable established leader at less than 1/10 of the cash-burning challenger. This wasn't based on business fundamentals. This was pure belief. The numbers were screaming that something was wrong. But the cult was so powerful that even Wall Street couldn't see through it. Until August 2019, when WeWork was forced to reveal their secrets in a document that became the laughingstock of the financial industry. The S1 revelation. In August 2019, WeWork filed their S1 document to go public. What investors saw was so alarming, it became an instant meme. The business model was simple and terrifying. Sign long-term leases and rent them out short-term. But the real red flag was WeWork's invention of community-adjusted EBITDA, essentially earnings before all the bad stuff. The corporate governance was worse. Neumann had trademarked the word "we" and charged his own company $5.9 million to use it. Neumann owned buildings that he leased back to WeWork. He had taken hundreds of millions in personal loans from the company. Finance Twitter exploded. One analyst tweeted, "This reads like a parody of Silicon Valley excess." Another called it the most unhinged filing in public market history. The S1 was like turning on the lights at a party. Everyone could see how messy things were. And what happened next was the fastest corporate collapse in modern history. The implosion. The collapse was swift. In August, WeWork filed to go public. By September, the IPO was canceled. Neumann was forced out. The $47 billion valuation plummeted to under $8 billion in weeks. Despite driving the company into the ground, Neumann negotiated a $1.7 billion exit package. While employees lost their jobs, he walked away richer than ever. WeWork laid off over 2,400 employees. One former employee said, "We thought we were changing the world. Turns out we were just making one guy rich." SoftBank wrote down over $9.2 billion on their investment. In November 2023, WeWork filed for bankruptcy. The $47 billion unicorn was dead. So that's how a $47 billion empire collapsed. But there's one final lesson every investor needs to understand. The secret I promised you at the beginning. Here's the secret. WeWork wasn't destroyed by competition or bad timing. It was destroyed by transparency. The moment WeWork was forced to show real numbers in the S1, the spell broke. All the spiritual language couldn't hide that this was a company burning $2 for every $1 it made. WeWork succeeded because it exploited our fundamental need to belong to something bigger. Investors wanted to fund the future of work. Employees wanted to join a movement. Customers wanted community. For sophisticated investors, here are the red flags. Companies inventing their own metrics, losses growing with valuations, governance benefiting founders over everyone else. When you see these, you're not looking at the next big thing. You're looking at the next big collapse. The real winners weren't those who believed the vision. They were those who read the numbers, trusted the data, and saw through the cult of personality. But here's the thing. WeWork wasn't the first billion-dollar con job, and it definitely won't be the last. Right now, there are companies out there using the exact same psychological tricks, the same cult-like tactics, and the same financial smoke and mirrors to fool investors. Some of them are worth tens of billions today, and most people have no idea they're walking into the same trap that destroyed WeWork. If you're serious about protecting your capital and understanding how the game of money is really played, don't stop here. Your next billion-dollar play is one click away. Keep playing smarter with The Wealth Project. Pick our latest insight or a curated favorite right here on your screen.